Hello everybody, Treno here, and today we are going to take a look at one of the prizes of the Repair Factory crafting event, the AMD 35 SA35, which is a French armoured car. Now this is probably going to be the most common of the prizes from this event because basically the other prizes all need 3 acceptance coupons, this only needs 1, although it doesn't become available until the 24th of April. Now, one of the big differences between this and the regular AMD 35 is the battle rating. This is a battle rating 1.7 vehicle, which I think is way too high. The original AMD 35 is a reserve tier 1.0 vehicle. And basically the reason for the increase is the addition of a new 47mm gun and a new turret. Now, starting off with the armament, like I say, it's a 47mm gun, the SA35. Now, in some ways this is superior because, of course, a bigger shell, 1.62 kilograms versus 0.35 kilograms for the 25mm gun AMD 35. You know, that should cause more damage, bigger shell, more spall, more damage inside the vehicle. However, it has worse penetration, 47mm at 500 meters versus 56mm for the 25mm gun, and it's about a 9mm difference for most ranges. So, while this will in theory cause more damage, it will not necessarily always work in practice, especially at the higher battle rating where you're going against enemies with thicker armour. It also carries less shells, only 30 versus 48 for the AMD 35 in the regular tech tree, and of course there is no coaxial machine gun, so you're basically going to be forced to carry a couple of HE shells just in case you come across any soft skin vehicles where AP shells aren't necessarily going to be the most effective weapon. Of course, with the regular AMD 35 you would have still had your machine gun, but with this you don't. Of course, the weapon does have some other advantages. It's got a better vertical guidance, plus 20 versus plus 15 for the other AMD 35, and it's got the same reload rate, which kind of surprised me. Of course, on the S35, which also has the same gun, it's 5.2 seconds reload rate. On this, it's 3.9 seconds reload rate, which is the same as the regular AMD 35. So that does make it more of an upgrade in my book. So again, like I say, 47mm gun does still have its disadvantages. Now, the armour is a bit of a mixed bag. Basically, it's 26mm at the front and it's heavily sloped, so you've got an effective thickness of around 35 to 40mm average. And on the sides, it's only 15mm with a little bit extra depending on the angle. The rear is also 15mm and the roof is 7mm. However, all the sources I've read say that the front armour is supposed to be 25mm with an additional 13mm plate, given a total thickness of 38mm. And the side and rear armours are supposed to be 25mm. I don't know why Gaijin have used these lower thicknesses. Maybe they've got access to some different documents. But like I say, all the other sources I've read say 38mm and 25mm. So, yeah, I don't know why Gaijin have used the lower thickness, and that does make it a lot less effective than it could be. Though again, like I say, you could still surprise some enemies, especially if they're shooting from the front and they shoot at the turret, which, you know, could cause a bit of a nasty surprise when you easily bounce their shot, depending on what they shoot you with. The speed is the same as the regular AMD 35, so 44 miles per hour forward, or about 71 kilometers an hour forward. The reverse speed, despite having the same amount of gears, is actually worse, 26.3 miles per hour, or about 42 kilometers an hour. I've done some testing on the acceleration, and it does seem to have the same acceleration forward and backwards at least, so you can get out of ambush situations a bit easier. Though, of course, like I say, in reverse, when you get to 26 miles per hour, it'll just level out, whereas, of course, going forward, you can keep accelerating. And we've also still got 4 crews. So a driver and commander in the hull, the commander can drive backwards if needed, and a gunner and loader in the turret. Although, interestingly, the commander on the regular AMD 35, I don't think can drive the vehicle if the driver's dead, so potentially that's another plus point for the SA35 variant. And lastly, you've got the visibility stat. They're actually the same for both vehicles, despite this being a lot taller. Of course, the visibility stat only really counts in arcade battles. If you're playing in realistic, it's still going to be easier to spot using your Mark 1 eyeballs, because it is significantly taller than the regular AMD 35. Though, again, if you can only see the top of the turret and you take a shot, it's going to be a lot thicker than you might otherwise expect. So, what are my overall thoughts on the AMD 35 SA35? I think it's a decent vehicle. It's a good alternative to the regular AMD 35, but like I say, I think it's way too high a battle rating. 1.7 just seems a little too high for it. I think it should be 1.3 at the max. Because, like I say, this has a worse penetrating gun, so putting the worst penetrating gun at a higher battle rating just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I think will hobble its potential. And of course, being a tier 1 vehicle, it doesn't have the scouting ability, which could have been quite useful, though it's way too low in battle rating to warrant having it. I've seen some people saying it should be a tier 2 vehicle, but again, I just don't think it's good enough to be much more than a 1.3 vehicle, so definitely not a tier 2 vehicle. I'll probably be getting this anyway. Like I say, it's going to be the easiest of the prizes to get, and I think it will be a decent vehicle, but not anything outstanding, unfortunately. But anyway, that's my look on the AMD 35 SA35. Hopefully you enjoyed this look at the vehicle, and will join me for looks at the other vehicles. I've been Terreno, and I'll see you next time.